Rain slides down the window like a confession Laura can't finish reading. Her phone glows in the dim motel room. Unread messages from Daniel, each one a promise carved in static. The last text says, "They're moving me tonight. Please don't lose faith." She reads it again, the words echoing against the hollow in her chest. Outside, the world is blurred silver. But inside, everything feels too sharp. The air, the silence, her breath. Then the phone rings. Unknown number. American flag on the caller ID. She answers with a whisper. The man's voice is calm. "Clipped military, Mom. This is Colonel Reeves. I'm afraid Sergeant Daniel Cross was killed in action 3 years ago." The sound drew a room. Laura's hand slips. The phone hits the bed with a soft thud. The screen stays lit. Proof of a lie she let herself believe because it felt like love. Laura drives through an endless stretch of wet highway, the wipers ticking like a metronome for grief. Daniel's messages replay in her mind. His laughter, the way he said her name softly through static. She remembers how his voice made the nights feel less empty. But now, every sound feels false. She pulls into a gas station, hands trembling as she scrolls through their old chats. The photos he sent. Him smiling beside desert tanks, him bandaged but brave. All trace back to someone else's life. Her reflection in the screen looks hollow, the light of the phone branding her with guilt. She wonders when exactly the lie began, and why she didn't stop it when the truth felt wrong. The next morning, Laura returns to her small apartment, quiet, colorless, filled with framed photos of her late husband and forgotten hobbies. She sits at her kitchen table with her laptop, searching for any trace of Daniel Cross. Each click feels heavier. The same photos appear on military memorial sites, each caption confirming the truth Colonel Reeves spoke. Her chest tightens as realization floods her. Every memory she cherished was scripted. A chill creeps into the room as her own messages replay in her head. "I believe in you. You're not alone." Now she sees them for what they were. Words she used to fill silence, not save a soldier. Laura scrolls through old emails from Daniel, her fingers tracing each line like scripture. She notices small errors, phrases no soldier would use, time zones that don't match, grammar too careful. The illusion collapses piece by piece. She opens a voice note. Daniel saying, "Promise me, you'll wait. The tone is perfect, practiced. But the background hum isn't military static. It's city noise, a faint echo of laughter, music, a passing car." Suddenly she realizes he was never where he said he was. The world tilts again. The man she prayed for was probably sipping coffee in another country, smiling as she sent her heart across the wire. That night, Laura opens her email one last time. A new message waits from someone named Elias with the subject, "You deserve the truth." The text is short. "I'm the one you called Daniel. I never meant to hurt you. You were kind to me when the world wasn't." No threats, no demands, just guilt bleeding through the words. Laura closes her eyes. For the first time, she feels both anger and mercy. The lie had destroyed her, but it had also revealed her. What she was capable of giving, even to a ghost. She deletes the message, stands, and finally opens the window. The night air carries no answers, only release. Laura doesn't report Elias. Instead, she studies him. His emails come from a cafe in Lagos. Her laptop's tracker shows the same IP repeating every few nights. She imagines him there, eyes reflecting the same blue glow hers once did. She starts replying, not with anger but curiosity. "Why me?" she types. His answer comes an hour later. "Because you cared." The simplicity cuts her deeper than any lie. She scrolls through their old messages again, noticing how his words were tailored perfectly, not to deceive, but to comfort. It dawns on her that every scam begins as a search for belonging, even for the liar. The line between victim and culprit blurs until both are just people reaching for warmth in the dark. She searches for him online. Social pages, profiles, fragments of usernames. Eventually, a photo appears. Elias Adebayo, musician, freelance writer. Same eyes as Daniel, only real this time. He posts lyrics about loneliness, about pretending to be someone better than yourself. Laura stares at his face, trying to reconcile the man who stole her heart with the one who writes poetry about guilt. She prints his picture, pins it on her wall beside Daniel's. One real, one invented, yet both staring back at her as if they know her secret. She whispers, "I forgive you," and wonders if forgiveness counts when no one asks for it. Days pass. Laura keeps emailing Elias under her real name now. She tells him about her husband, her grief, how Daniel's voice became a lifeline she couldn't afford to lose. In return, Elias tells her he grew up learning to mimic kindness, that words were his only currency. Their emails become long, confessional, raw. They talk about lies that begin as hope and end as prisons. Sometimes she almost forgets who deceived whom. At night, Laura reads his messages aloud, voice trembling, realizing they've built something new out of the ashes of deceit. A fragile, impossible friendship between a ghost and the woman he haunted. Elias's next email comes with an attachment, a video. Laura hesitates before clicking play. The screen fills with his face, nervous but unflinching. He speaks softly, his accent wrapping around her name like a confession. "I'm sorry for everything. I didn't know how to stop. I became him because I couldn't stand being me." For a long moment, Laura just watches in silence. The room feels lighter, as if his truth has filled it with air. She doesn't cry this time. Instead, she smiles faintly, realizing that maybe forgiveness isn't given. It's shared. Two broken people trading honesty for the first time. A week later, Laura drives to a lake outside town, the one she used to visit with her husband. She sits by the water, laptop on her knees, composing her final message to Elias. "This is goodbye. We both needed someone to see us, even if it began with a lie. You helped me remember I can still feel." She presses send and closes the laptop and lets silence settle. The wind ripples across the lake, scattering her reflection. For the first time in years, she doesn't feel the weight of someone else's story pressing on her chest. The lie is over. But the truth, hers, has finally begun. The flight hums like a long-held breath Laura finally releases. Through the oval window, the clouds look like folded letters, unread, unreturned. She's flying to Lagos. Not for confrontation, but clarity. She keeps wondering what she'll say when she sees him. Why me? Or maybe thank you. The world below feels far, almost fictional, like the stories she once believed. As the plane descends, she feels something shift, a weight that isn't guilt, but understanding. She isn't chasing him anymore. She's meeting the part of herself that still wanted to believe love could save someone. Maybe even her. The city greets her with noise and color, markets shouting, horns echoing through the humid air. Laura walks through crowded streets with a paper map, searching for the cafe from the IP address. Every scent, every sound feels alive compared to the sterile quiet of her apartment. When she finds the cafe, she pauses at the door, heart racing. Inside, a man sits by the window, typing. She recognizes his posture from the video, nervous shoulders, careful hands. He looks up, eyes widening. For a heartbeat, neither moves. Then he stands uncertain whether to smile or disappear. Their conversation is awkward at first, half apologies, half silences. Elias avoids her eyes, fingers tracing his coffee cup as if it might offer an escape. "I didn't think you'd really come," he says. Laura smiles softly. "Neither did I." They speak about the nights he pretended to be Daniel, about the money, the messages, the moments that felt too real to be fake. Laura listens, really listens, and finds no monster. Just a man trying to exist inside his own lies. For the first time, she sees the same loneliness that drove her to believe. Maybe they were both victims of the same emptiness. After the cafe closes, they walk together through a narrow alley, glowing with shop lights. Elias tells her about growing up poor, about using fake names to buy time. People trust soldiers, he says quietly. They listen. Laura nods. So did I. But there's no accusation in her voice, only empathy. They stop at a small bridge overlooking the lagoon. The water below reflects the city's chaos, yet feels peaceful. Elias hands her a small flash drive. Everything I used, every message, every file, I don't want it anymore. Laura takes it, not as evidence, but as closure. Morning finds Laura sitting by her hotel window, suitcase half-packed. She watches the city wake, thinking of how stories end. There's no revenge, no dramatic goodbye. Only the quiet acceptance that people can break each other without meaning to. She opens her laptop and begins to write, not to Elias, but to herself. You can love a lie, she types, and still forgive the truth that follows. She closes the computer, slips the flash drive into her bag, and walks out into the sun. Somewhere behind her, a man starts over too. Back in Ohio, the air feels different, heavier, quieter, almost too still after Lagos. Laura sits on her porch, the same place she used to drink coffee with her husband before dawn. The birds sound mechanical now, the morning light too bright. She replays her meeting with Elias, every word etched behind her eyelids. There's no anger left, just an ache for understanding. The world didn't end when she faced him. It simply kept moving, indifferent and beautiful. She opens her notebook and begins to write, not about loss, but about connection built from falsehood. Maybe, she thinks, the most dangerous lies are the ones told out of love. Weeks pass. Laura transforms her pain into work. She sets up her laptop, microphone, and a single desk lamp in her living room, recording voiceovers for a documentary she titles The Man Who Never Was. She narrates not as a victim, but as a witness. Her voice carries strength, trembling at times, but clear. She plays back Elias's video confession, syncing it to her script. When she says, "He wasn't a soldier, he was a story," she finally smiles. Because now, the story belongs to her. Late one night, Laura receives an email from an unknown sender. The subject line reads, "Thank you." The message says only, "Your film saved me from believing another lie." She leans back, heart steady. Her story has found its purpose. Not revenge, not exposure, but empathy. In showing the anatomy of deception, she's revealed something larger. The way loneliness drives people to build illusions of love, and the way truth can still grow inside the ruins of those illusions. For the first time, she doesn't feel alone behind the screen. She feels seen. Laura's documentary premieres at a small community center downtown. Dozens of faces glow under the projector's light. Teachers, veterans, parents, strangers who see fragments of themselves in her story. When the film ends, the room stays silent for a moment before applause swells. Laura stands at the back, hands trembling, tears in her eyes. Not from pride, but recognition. She isn't hiding behind a screen anymore. She's standing in the open. The lie that once broke her now connects her to everyone who's ever wanted to believe in something too good to be true. That night, Laura walks home under street lights haloed by mist. She carries the flash drive Elias gave her, now empty, its contents archived in her film. She stops by a bridge over the quiet river, drops the drive into the water, and watches the ripples spread. The sound of running water feels like closure, not loss. She whispers, "Goodbye, Daniel." The name no longer hurts. The lie that once trapped her heart has become her liberation. She turns toward home, her reflection fading beneath the rippling light. The documentary goes viral within weeks. Laura's inbox fills with messages, gratitude, confessions, stories of others deceived by the same illusion. She reads them all, sometimes smiling, sometimes crying. But one message stands out. "I used to do what he did. Can I tell you why? The sender's name is Mark Holden, a journalist, he says, researching online scammers. His tone feels gentle, familiar, almost too careful. Laura hesitates, her instincts prickling, but curiosity wins. She replies. That night, his next email arrives instantly, as if he'd been waiting. Mark's first video call feels safe. He's disarming, quick to laugh, easy to trust. He tells her he admires her courage and wants to interview her for a feature piece. The conversation flows. His questions delicate, his voice steady, but something about his phrasing feels practiced, almost rehearsed. When the call ends, Laura notices her reflection lingering longer than his image. Her pulse quickens. She's been here before. Still, she tells herself she's imagining it. After all, not everyone who listens wants to lie, right? Over the next week, Mark's messages shift. Less professional, more personal. He compliments her voice, her strength, her empathy. It's subtle, gentle enough to pass as friendship. But Laura catches the rhythm, the same reassurance, the same emotional fretting Daniel once used. This time, though, she reads between the lines. She plays along, asking quiet questions, testing his story. The patterns emerge. The too perfect anecdotes, the missing time zones, the emotional hooks disguised as respect. She feels the chill of recognition, but instead of fear, she feels control. Laura arranges a second call. When Mark appears, she doesn't smile. She asks about his last assignment, his editor, his supposed office. His hesitation says everything. Then she says softly, "You're not a journalist, are you?" His silence stretches, then he laughs. A tired, almost admiring sound. "You're smarter than I thought." He admits he wanted to test her, to see if you could be fooled again. Laura nods slowly, her expression calm. "He wanted to see if I learned." She leans closer to the camera. "I did." After ending the call, Laura deletes his messages without hesitation. No shaking hands, no tears, just quiet certainty. The lesson isn't about avoiding lies. It's about recognizing her worth beyond them. She walks outside. The night air crisp against her skin. For the first time, she feels untouchable. Not hardened, but aware. The moon hangs low, mirrored in puddles along the street, reminding her of something Elias once said. "We lie to survive, but we heal by telling the truth." She smiles. Maybe the truth was never about Daniel or Elias or Mark. It was always about her. Months pass and Laura's name begins appearing on conference programs and podcasts. She talks about online deception, loneliness, and recovery, but privately wonders if she's healing or just narrating the wound. Standing backstage at a university auditorium, she listens to the murmur of students waiting. She thinks about the quiet nurse she once was, the woman who whispered to a ghost through a glowing screen. When her name is called, she walks on stage and feels the lights blind her. "Would you trust someone you've never met?" she begins. The room stills, every face lit by her truth. After the talk, students gather around her, voices overlapping with gratitude and questions. One girl says, "You made me feel less stupid." Laura laughs softly and tells her, "Believing someone isn't stupid, it's human." Driving home later, she replays the words in her head. Human. That's what every lie touches first, the part of us that wants to care. She turns off the radio and lets silence fill the car, realizing she no longer needs Daniel's voice or Elias's apology to feel whole. Her own voice is enough. Laura's story catches the attention of a small documentary network. They invite her to narrate a new series about digital empathy. Real victims and scammers sharing screens instead of stages. Recording in a professional studio feels different. Her voice echoes in perfect clarity. No rain, no glitches. Between takes, she stares at the microphone and imagines Daniel's voice returning. Only this time he listens. She speaks each line with care, aware that someone somewhere might need to hear it the way she once did. One evening, she receives a message from Elias Adebayo. The subject reads, "I saw your interview." His email is brief. He started volunteering with youth groups. teaching digital literacy. I tell them the truth starts with honesty about yourself, he writes. Laura rereads it several times, unsure whether to reply. Eventually, she types, "Thank you. It's not closure, it's continuation." Their stories no longer orbit pain, but growth. Two voices that once deceived and believed now coexist, honest at last. Late at night, Laura walks along the shoreline outside town. The lake mirrors 1,000 small lights from distant houses, each flicker a reminder of connection. She whispers her final narration for the series into a handheld recorder. You can't delete the past, but you can log out of who you were. She pauses, listening to the water answer in ripples. The deception that once defined her has dissolved into something simpler. Understanding. She presses stop, smiles, and lets the waves take her reflection. A year has passed. Laura stands before a classroom of nursing students lecturing about empathy in patient care. Her voice is steady, her eyes alive. She tells them that connection isn't about knowing every truth. It's about listening, even when it hurts. After class, a student lingers, asking softly, "How did you learn to forgive someone like that?" Laura smiles faintly, looking out the window. By realizing he wasn't the only one pretending, the student doesn't understand, but Laura doesn't explain. Some lessons aren't meant to be retold, only lived. At home, Laura keeps the flash drive's empty case on her bookshelf beside framed photos, her husband, her younger self, and a printed still from her film. Each image feels like a page from a life she survived. She makes tea, sits by the window, and watches rain trace paths down the glass. There's peace in the repetition. She thinks of Daniel sometimes, the voice, the words, the illusion that once felt like destiny. But it no longer haunts her. Now, it's a memory with soft edges, like an old photograph that no longer hurts to hold. She starts writing again, this time fiction. Her stories are about people who lie to survive, who fall in love through screens, who lose and find themselves in pixels and prayers. The words come easily, as if they've been waiting all along. Each character she writes feels real, fragments of herself scattered across digital worlds. She doesn't write for forgiveness or fame, but for release. The world has already heard her truth. Now she's ready to imagine others. In giving them voice, she finally frees her own. One evening, she returns to the same bridge where she once said goodbye to Daniel. The river flows steadily beneath her, silver and endless. She leans against the railing, breathing in the cool air. Her phone buzzes with a message from Elias Adebayo, a photo of a classroom full of smiling kids holding up a sign. Truth heals. She laughs quietly. The sound carries across the water. The world is full of liars and believers, she thinks, but maybe redemption belongs to both. The next morning, Laura records her final message for the documentary's closing credits. Her voice is calm, almost whispered. We live in a world built on connection, where love travels faster than truth, and lies wear familiar faces. But maybe that's the point. Maybe we're meant to meet each other, even through the masks. She pauses, smiling through quiet tears, because sometimes a lie can lead you back to who you were always meant to be. She stops recording, exhales, and lets the silence speak for her.